What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Let me ask you some questions and see if you can answer it, right? What do you think a general does on the battlefield? Do you think that he goes out with his weapon and he actually gets out there and he does the fighting? Or do you think he dictates and pontificates and gives orders? He speaks, and from his words, action happens. Right? Why do you think Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF, why do you think they make it a point to go after heads of state? Why do you think they assassinated Yemen's head of state, the people who dictate to the Houthis, who are the actual warriors fighting against imperialism? Why do you think Benjamin Netanyahu goes after the heads of state or the leadership of Hamas and not so much, he kills everybody, babies, everything. That's a bad example. But why do you think he concentrates on going after leaders? Why do you think in war, if you have an opportunity to get a general, you'll do it? Because when you eliminate the person during the dictating, you eliminate the person commanding, right? It messes up the cohesion of the force. All right. That's why our American generals, when in combat, they don't wear their general rank on their head, because a sniper will see a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star general and know that's primary target. That's why you don't see colonels in the battlefield wearing their colonel rank. That's why the U.S. military officers don't wear their rank, so they can't be identified, because you don't want to identify the leadership, because it's the leadership that dictates to the troops what to do. Okay? And that's in combat. So when you talk about politics, and politics is combat without guns most of the time. Okay? But politics is war. It's how human beings construct themselves and how human beings make decisions on what it is that we're going to do, whether it be domestic policy or foreign policy. Right? And you see Charlie Kirk, he was a colonel. He wasn't a general. I would say he was a colonel in the social media aspect, in the social movement, that is MAGA, that is white supremacy. The same reason the federal government assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King, right, who was not a warrior, but he was a speaker. He was a dictator. He dictated, and he influences the masses to act and do a certain thing. The same reason that they assassinated Malcolm X. Malcolm X was an orator. He was a speaker. He dictated to the masses who were on the front line to do a certain thing, to act a certain way. So the opposition chose to take them out in order to mess up the cohesion and the message and the brain power of that movement in order to ruin it. Why do you think the federal government targeted and assassinated the Black Panthers? Because they were a danger to white supremacy and white power, because that organization was organized, and it showed black people who organized together that they can wield significant power within the apparatuses of America. Okay? And this goes for every country on the planet, with every party, every group of people with any type of political and social ideology. Okay? So Charlie Kirk was a piece on the on the board, right? There are many pieces on the board. Even for black power, I'm a piece on the board, right? I'm a piece on the board, and I understand that. And because of that, because I was also trained not to make myself a target, people always ask me all the time, hey, when you going to Nigeria? I'll never tell you. First rule, when you're a speaker, right? When you're on social media or if you put yourself out there, is never tell anybody where you're going. That's why I always found it odd why my opposition would schedule and be in certain places at certain times. You're telling your opposition where you're going to be. So that means they can plan to be there as well. They can plan to be there before you, right? You tell them what time you're going to be there. That way they can plan what they want to do to you if that's something they want to do. Because the key is for your opposition is to get you off the board. I am fully aware as a pro-black Pan-African who's unapologetic and tell the truth that there are people who view that my pro-black Pan-Africanism as a threat to them. And there are people who want to do something about it. And if given the opportunity, would do something about it to me. That's why I never tell people where I'm going. I never tell people exactly where I am until I'm already gone. Or until I know it's safe to do so. I would never go and speak in public in front of thousands of people in an open area. I would go into a closed area that had security, that people were vetted coming in, but I would never do it outside, because as a warrior, as a tactician, as a Marine, as somebody who's a expert in counterintelligence. I mean, I've been doing this shit for 15 years. I'm retired. Okay, I had the ability. I retired. Right. This is all I've ever done professionally, and I know I never put myself in a position to allow somebody I don't know to harm me. Right. Because the thing is, as a public speaker, you see, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knew who Charlie Kirk was, and you see, Charlie Kirk got very complacent. A lot of these white racist conservatives who think America and the people in America are so sedentary, are so docile, that you can openly go out and be that racist. I mean, he brought back open racism and white supremacy. Open. You can call it Turning Point USA. You can say USA all day long. You can make it red, white, and blue all day long. People with common sense know exactly what it is, because it hasn't been that long since the 50s. All right. The people who were fighting in the 50s and got results in the 60s are still alive. You understand? So it's not like it's that far gone in memory that America doesn't still have the memory of when open racism was a normal thing. We've only had closet racism really, I mean, to be honest, closet racism since the late 60s up until what? 90s, early 2000s? Somebody help me out in the comment section in there. The fake, introverted, enclosed racism. Because from the conception of America, back when it first started, all the way up to 1965, it was always open and obvious white racism and white supremacy. Always. Unapologetically and ashamedly. No shame. Zero shame. Right? And only just recently, in the last 30, 40 years, right? I'm 42. So within my livable lifetime, I guess I would say Reagan, right? Reagan was an open racist too as well, right? Yeah, damn, shit. Damn, Carter? I'm going to say Carter, all right? We're going to go from Carter up. That's when we had the illusion that, America has changed. America has changed, though. That's the thing about it. It's just that it may have changed, but the players are still there, right? The agendas are still there. White supremacy wants to survive. White supremacy is dying globally. All right. They don't have the numbers. They don't have the power. They don't have the money. They don't have the organization. They don't have any of that stuff. But that doesn't mean they're just going to give up. They're going to fight into the last man. Right. Especially white folks. That's what they do. That's been their history. They're warriors. They're going to fight. Right. So having all that being said, Charlie Kirk and the people like him, them other guys, there's a whole bunch of them little YouTuber social medias that have been empowered by rich, old media, old money billionaires who don't go out and expose themselves, who don't come out of their gated communities, who don't come from those tall towers in New York. They don't come out of there. They don't interact with the normal individuals. They fly in their private jets from enclave to enclave, from rich resort to rich resort. They don't deal with the normal peasant. But you see, they send their little warrior out. They saw somebody like Charlie Kirk. They saw turncoats like Candace Owens and all those little, you know who they are, right? And they empower them. They make sure that the media, the platforms that they're on, push their videos and push them on the algorithm to make them famous, well known, so that the message that's passed down to them that they get paid to spew out is permeated. And they make sure that people like me, seeing how black folks, we don't own anything like Facebook or YouTube, because it takes a lot of money. Data is a lot. The YouTube, it takes a lot to run YouTube. Most white people can't do most people can't recreate what we have going on here, unless you're an ultra millionaire and you want to dedicate your life to it. We talking about the data center, the powers that's necessary to do it. One day Africa will do it. It's going to happen, now that Africans liberate themselves. But, until then, we still have to use the platforms built by the very same people that mean to oppress people like myself. Right? So with that being said, you never put yourself out there, and Charlie Kirk is a piece that's been taken off the board. which is a positive thing for my movement. It's a positive thing for the humanistic movement. It's the positive thing for humanity that wants to progress. Yes, it's violent. It's violent, but that's what war is. You know, he may have not been a politician, but we all know he was planning on running. They were grooming him to be a future candidate for president of the United States. It's possible they would have got a super intelligent neo-Nazi racist in the White House. We have a stupid, dumb neo-Nazis racist in the White House now. Then they're going to try to use J.D. Vance and get a slightly smarter neo-Nazi in there then. And then they were going to set it up for Charlie Kirk to get a super intelligent young neo-Nazi. That was their plan. Now that piece has been taken off the board. So now they're going to have to retool. Someone else is going to be elevated. Someone else is going to have to take his place because that piece has been taken off the board. Plenty of times, the pieces of our movement has been taken off the board. In Africa, in the Caribbean, in America. We are used to having our pieces taken off the board. And every time one of our pieces are taken off the board, they're ecstatic, they're happy, they celebrate it, right? And there are people celebrating right now that one of their pieces are being taken off the board. And here's the thing, in a battle of attrition, they can't win anyway, because the white population is too small for that battle. The black population is so big, just by sheer numbers. We have so many future and up-and-coming revolutionaries that are right now using crayons trying to draw in between the lines. That are learning their ABCs right now. They don't have too many of those learning their ABCs, if you know what I mean. And they know that. They have an existential crisis. They can't fight any of us in a battle of attrition. There's billions upon billions of us. Conservatively, there's probably 2-3 billion Africans in Africa right now. There's probably more than 55 million African Americans right now. We're the size of nations. You take us all together, African Americans, just us as one group. We're the size of whole groups of people in Europe. We're bigger than whole groups of countries, groups of people in countries in Europe. We're the same size we're bigger than the African population. We're almost, the black population in South Africa. The African American population is either the same size, if not bigger, than the black South African population, because the colors don't want to be included. And we don't include the white people. They're not African. They're invaders, right? But what we have to do is we have to rein in all these black people that want to be contrarians. And what they want to do is some of them don't want to fight. They're like, oh, let's feel bad for everybody. We don't have time for people who are not participating in the game to be on the battlefield. They have to move. If you don't want to fight, get off the battlefield. If you're not participating in battle or words, shut your mouth, because you're in the way. You're literally in the way. Because you can say, hey, peace this, peace this, peace this, but they don't have peace with you. There's no peace with you. You're literally an object in the way. And and some of these black people, they only want peace when the opposition, who dehumanizes them, who disrespects them, who looks at them as less than, when they get hurt, all of a sudden you got these black apologists. These are the weak links of our community, because they just feel like they got to say something. They want to grandstand and speak to the whole black community as if we're supposed to always be the empathetic, welcoming group of people. We are, in fact. That's our nature. But right now we're at war. And you got to remember, as African Americans, we are the gods of war. There's no one that can beat us in war. There's no one who's ever beat us in war when all being equal. We are literally world famous throughout history for thousands of years to present day as being, when on the battlefield, being the gods of war. We are legend. A lot of people don't know how legendary we are as black people on the battlefield, and how if it wasn't for African Americans, a lot of Europeans would be speaking German. A lot, like all of them. Okay? All of them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? But that's just another instance of Europeans using black power for their own agendas. But currently, we're about to use our own power for our own agenda, right? Hey, and now we can't say we don't have allies. We do have allies. We can't recognize our allies because they look just like our enemies. And like I've told our allies before that look like our enemies, you must recognize that we can't recognize you. So you're going to have to do the work understanding that we can't recognize you. So when the battlefield clears and when the smoke clears, you're going to have to make yourself known. But for right now, for strategic reasons, we're going to have to clam up. We're going to be over here, you be over here. And you're just going to have to show us instead of telling us. Like, you showing us. I mean, we can't say you ain't doing that. All right, but just keep up the good work. That's all I'm saying. Right? So, yeah, this is the real world. All right? In nature, animals have to fight for territory so they can eat, so they can raise their babies. I know y'all don't like to think it, but we are, in fact, animals. We are still subject to the animal kingdom. We are subject to the laws of nature. All that human man-made religion stuff, that's stuff that we have created to complicate our own lives. But in the real world, nature still dominates. The law of nature is still primal. All right? It's still numero. All right? And we're still going to have to live in that no matter what we like to believe or what we want to think or how we want to construct our lives. All right? But anyway, that's all I wanted to say about this. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section about this. Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.
Who taught you to humanize men who dehumanize you? The colonizer. Who else? And your typical everyday white person is gonna be like, we're not colonizers, we don't colonize anymore. But you do. You colonize people's mindsets. You try to make them forget that someone dehumanized them with their rhetoric and their debates, just so that they can value the human life that you think is the most important. This man would have laughed if it happened to somebody else. How many times has he scoffed at the deaths of black men? His favorite rhetoric was about gang violence, and now those are his famous last words. The same people posting videos about Charlie Kirk's daughters running into his arms are the same people who didn't care that George Floyd had a daughter. Yeah, neither of those men were heroes, but neither of them deserved to die the way they did. Difference is, these same people trying to humanize Charlie Kirk did not want to humanize George Floyd. They'd rather do stuff like this. Photoshop their faces onto his. There are people saying that people on the right don't gloat about the deaths of others. People had no reason to gloat about George Floyd's death, but they did. They absolutely did. They didn't know him from a can of paint. They just saw that he was a black man who might have had a drug problem and a history of doing things that he shouldn't have, doing things that put other people in danger. But they didn't even try to humanize him because he had a daughter. Yet you have a white man who has put other people in danger with his rhetoric, and all of a sudden you can humanize people. Give me a break. This is why Black Lives Matter was a thing, something else that Charlie Kirk scoffed at. Because they don't to y'all, and it's clear. And then you want to fix your mouths to tell us who to have empathy for. No, fuck off. Y'all claim to not be colonizers and then think you have a say in whose life is most valuable and who people should care about and empathize with. You don't have the authority to do either of those things. You claim to not be racist, but you gloat about the deaths of black people. And then when a white man dies who has put black people and other people in danger, you tell us not to gloat. You try to tell us how to feel. I'm not gloating. I'm not saying he deserved it, but you're not going to tell me how to feel about it. You're not going to try to get me to humanize him, because I'm not doing that. I don't care that he had kids and a wife. Don't care. Husbands and fathers die every day. The Republican Party seems to just be full of people who aren't intelligent. Meatheads, people who didn't really get a good education, people who got left behind in school, people who don't read, they just believe whatever they're told, and people who ignore reality. Christians who overlook the most heinous of things just because someone who did said heinous things says they're Christian. People with selective memory who say that Republicans don't gloat about people's death. Think again. Just go on Twitter. Just go on Charlie Kirk's Twitter and anybody else who thinks like Charlie Kirk, and look what they say about people who have died. Look what they said about the Minnesota lawmaker who was assassinated along with her husband. We don't gloat about people's deaths. Are you sure? Because you show up at pride parades to gloat about what you imagine is going to be the future death of us in the LGBTQ community just for existing. You're gloating about future death. Are you kidding? You look forward to death. You look forward to the people who your fable, your fairy tale book demonizes, dying. Are you kidding me? And on the left, you have people like Dean, who people for some reason just flock to, but I read through that man as soon as he opened his mouth. He thinks he's the prince of the DNC. Just because he's educated and white and can talk a good game and debate with people, and because people flock to him to follow him, Y'all made him feel like the prince of the DNC. There are no princes. There's no royalty in America. And y'all are surprised, shocked, that he's blubbering and boo-hooing about Charlie Kirk bawling on TikTok Live. You're surprised? No. At the end of the day, white people are white people. And they're gonna value the lives of each other more than everybody else. It's not gonna matter to the majority of white people if they dehumanized people who don't look like them. If that person died, they're to be pitied. You should have empathy for their family. It doesn't matter that that person was a complete piece of shit. Now they can be humanized, even though they wouldn't do the same for you. They wouldn't do the same for you. Even though you're the same race, because you're on the other side of the political spectrum, they would have laughed. They would have been making memes of your death. And people are making memes of Charlie Kirk's death, and I don't agree with that. I see people posting that in my comments. Don't do that. I'm gonna delete the comment every time, and I'm gonna lose respect for you. Well, I don't even know you, so I don't care. But I'm gonna delete that because it's totally inappropriate. It's crazy. I don't think people dying in such a gruesome way is meme worthy. Absolutely not. We have to decolonize our minds and not hold white people to a high standard when it comes to valuing the life of everybody else. Because time and again, they've shown it doesn't matter which political side you're on. They're going to value white lives over everybody else. Because if you don't mind that someone dehumanized people who don't look like you, and you're willing to humanize them in death when they wouldn't do the same to the rest of us, and you, then you're not our friends. You're not our allies, because you don't care enough. You don't care enough. I wasn't surprised by Dean and whoever else was blubbering about this, but I was surprised by Good Trouble. I think he said something like, "This is tragic for all of us." Who's us? It's not tragic for me. Him dying by gun violence is no more detrimental than the gun violence that happened in Colorado the same day. It's no more detrimental. It doesn't have more of a depth of meaning to the country than all the other shootings that have been going on. Did we forget what happened to the lawmakers in Minnesota back in June? What came of that? There hasn't been some kind of civil war after that either. So I don't think the same thing is going to happen with Charlie Kirk. But I don't put it past this government to try to start one by pinning this death on a black man. And let's be honest, this was in Utah. So they would have to really find the black needle in the haystack to blame it on. But they would try to find a black scapegoat to start some kind of race war. I could see that happening. And if they do, I'm not buying it. Don't believe it. If they try to start some kind of race war, y'all need to protect yourselves and don't be out in the streets like, celebrating or brandishing weapons or whatever. And that's another lesson that I've learned from this. If the person that we actually want to go goes, you can't celebrate in the streets. You can't do it because they're chomping at the bit to commit the violence that they condemn. They will try to fight you and end your life. I know they will. So if and when that happens, celebrate at home in the privacy and comfort and safety of your home. Don't be doing it in the streets. Don't do that because these people's heroes are violent. They worship these men. What do you think they're going to try to do to you if you celebrate their downfall? These people are too stupid to see themselves. They ignore reality. They don't see that they are the most violent ones on this planet. They think they don't gloat about death. Don't put it past them to put you in danger if you celebrate the downfall of the people that they idolize.
It's starting to piss me off with this Charlie Kirk shit. When somebody has cancer and they go through chemo and radiation to kill off the cancer in their body and the cancer cells die, we celebrate. They ring the bell. We celebrate the fact that they're in remission. They're cancer free. But now y'all are mourning the loss of one cancer cell. What are y'all going to do when we are in remission? What are y'all going to do when the other cancer cells die? Are y'all going to mourn the fact that we are cancer free? Are y'all going to be sad that the cancer is no longer making the body sick? That the cancer is no longer killing us from the inside out and from the outside in? He was a father. He would have made those children cancer cells. He was a husband. His wife married a cancer cell, which makes her a cancer cell. And the empathy that y'all are extending that he told you was damaging is starting to make me believe that the cancer was so aggressive, it is seeping into your minds and rotting y'all out. Are y'all now cancer cells too?
I really want y'all to stop painting Charlie Kirk out to be like he was just, a regular TikTok nigga that was just, giving his thoughts and ideas in the back of his car. And compare him to people like myself and other creators who just niggas trying to, just say shit on the internet. That man had political ties, he had power, and he had influence. He had an entire organization that was used by the Republican Party, and I'm sure they paid him heftily for the messages and the rhetoric that he spread in their name. So to compare him and say, oh, well, he was just giving his unsolicited opinion. He was a social media guy, a TikTok creator. No, he was more than that. You could account him directly impacting the election cycle with the rhetoric he was spewing and spraying on this app and other platforms. He's directly tied to the young white male and even black male, hell, just young male alt-right pipeline to begin with. And a lot of the misinformation in Reagan era and even prior era, misinformation and rhetoric that's been used to describe, people like black people, who are described as violent criminals and inherently violent and things like that. He was directly tied to that. I believe one of the mass shooters used him and Candace Owens and named them in their manifesto before. A lot of the misinformation that he spread directly influenced the election and went on to later influence laws that were then passed to negatively impact niggas. All that DEI rhetoric that had even other black people saying we don't even need DEI. Now look at you asses on here complaining because you can't get no fucking jobs. Motherfuckers complaining because they don't have certain bit hell college refund checks all fucked up now because of the dumbass shit that they done passed. They done fucked up a lot of this shit, the Doge shit. Like all that can all be tied to the rhetoric that was spread on people like his platforms. You see, Joe Rogan walked a lot of that shit back when things started getting all fucked up. You saw Candace Owens walk a lot of that shit back. You saw Tucker Carlson walk a lot of that shit back. Oh, because them checks start coming in. Tucker Carlson got his ass fired from fucking Fox News. Candace Owens did. See, Kirk was probably trying to build his way to becoming a politician and getting in that door. He was building up to that. They all do. And I want y'all to stop saying, so if he was just giving his opinion, which literally was him spewing hate speech and all type of isms and obias, all of them. He was all them. Any phobic you can think of, he was throwing rhetoric out there and damn right saying being racist towards black people, because if you had a lesbian black female surgeon, he would question your validity. If you were a black male pilot, he would question your qualifications. That Martin Luther King wasn't a good person and the Civil Rights Act being passed in 1964 was a mistake. And black ass niggas up here defending that motherfucker. Y'all act like he's Stephen A. Smith and they talking about sports and shit. Like that's an opinion is, man, Attack on Titan is better than Demon Slayer. Batman is better than Superman. I like dogs. Hell, even political opinions. I think that the Federal Reserve is a mistake. I think that the No Child Left Behind Act was a mistake. That's political opinion. Not, I don't acknowledge Palestinians I don't acknowledge their existence, so their ethnic cleansing is basically justified because I don't even acknowledge that they exist. That's not a fucking opinion. And I need y'all to stop saying that's hate speech isn't an opinion. Obiism, isms, and all that type of talk, that's not an opinion, bro. Y'all gotta stop trying to lump him in with just niggas on here giving they fucking thoughts and prayers on a fucking app in their goddamn car in their room. Y'all want a shitty dead person to have more respect than the people that said dead person disrespected. Where was the respect for the living when you was here? You had none unless they was white, straight. What is respect for somebody who gonna do? Nothing. How about we learn how to respect motherfuckers when they hear breathing? Because that's what matters.
Charlie Kirk. I'm going to read some of my favorite quotes from Charlie Kirk. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Women should not work, but instead serve their husbands and raise children. If my 10-year-old daughter were raped and became pregnant, I would not allow her to have an abortion. Birth control has created very angry and bitter young ladies, and women in their early 30s, they're past their prime. Abortion is our modern Holocaust. If a 6-week-old fetus is not alive, then what does abortion do to the fetus? That's like saying an 88-year-old with dementia isn't really alive. At least 8 babies were born alive during botched abortions and subsequently died without receiving any care, treated as medical waste and discarded. Planned Parenthood's claim to offer health care is nonsense. They do abortions. He referred to transgender individuals as, quote, a throbbing middle finger to God, and then said that they should be taken care of the way we used to in the 50s and 60s. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up, new age term that does a lot of damage. I'm going to read some of my favorite quotes from Charlie Kirk.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.